I'm going to do my best Rod Serling impersonation. Okay, imagine. No. Let's just start. Imagine you're strolling with a loved one. You're both enjoying a sunny afternoon, casually trying to avoid a Karen or a Kyle douchebag type that seems to have suddenly started existing everywhere. You're in mid-conversation, describing a wonderful podcast you recently discovered hosted by a funny guy that talks about books, but also has an ongoing storyline of its own, sort of. It's kind of inconsequential when you think about it. I mean, meaning you can jump into any episode comfortably and still not feel totally lost. Overall, it's mesmerizing and has totally drawn you in. You must know what's happening. It's unique, yet it has a refined quality like a fine wine or mixing all the flavors of soda together at a gas station. But for the ears, like it's something that you just can't quite. So you're talking about it. Okay, going on about how you've told your friends, family, loved ones, strangers, not so strangers, epidemiologists, hairdressers, people named Tommy, Tammy, John, Janie, Jimmy, James, James's brother Ben, their aunt, the attractive one, not the big one. Nobody likes her, not even Ben. I mean, okay, who isn't that great either? I mean, let's be honest, because he's the kind of guy that would never say he doesn't like you to your face, but would definitely do it behind your back. Okay, you go to cross the street, jabbering away when boom, you're both hit by a bus. You've managed to live through it, but it's left you a paraplegic, wheelchair-bound for the rest of your life. The person you were with doesn't make it. Your life is wrenched from normality into tragedy by one catastrophic, fateful intervention. Only, unbeknownst to you, it wasn't. No, see, you were always supposed to be in a wheelchair, and that loved one was never supposed to exist at all. You're walking, and your loved one's very existence was the abnormality. Your entire life was never supposed to be the way you've always known it to be. How do you find this out? Who tells you this? A complete stranger who has been stalking you throughout your entire life. They've been jumping in and out at key events to change things in your life for the better. What? How? Who are you? Why would... When did they... Where are you... Is this a conspiracy? Why won't they tell me? Why? Conspiracy!
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire.
Welcome to Elton Reads a Book a Week, the only podcast on Earth, the sole occupant of its own podcast burning list. My name is Elton, and I read a book a week. The book this time is one of my personal favorites. It's Lightning by Dean Koontz. It's an investigative look at the world of It's an investigative look at the world of electrified erotic stimulation, or shocking your balls for sexual gratification. A subject that, according to the book, is basically just variations of electrified nipple clamps and things that zap scrot. That's slang for testicles for you sexually innuendo-deprived laymen out there. The book starts in the Dark Ages when a Jesuit priest attempts to harness the power of lightning by stripping naked and tying a lightning rod to his head. This is done in a desperate attempt to rid himself of sexual thoughts, while also reaching orgasm that, quote, would tickle the taint of the Almighty and make him weep with joy and shame. That's code for unreasonable expectations. Next, it takes the reader on a journey into the modern era of the, quote, voltage for vulvas movement, unquote, and its ongoing court battles to legally accept and define what can and cannot be electrified and used as a nipple clamp and or, device to shock the balls. Those, again, are testicles for you laymen out there. Let me tell you, it was an eye-opener. I mean, the part about the inventor's grandmother walking in on him during an especially embarrassing quote-unquote test involving a car battery, a tinfoil hat, and a generous application of grape jelly is equal parts heart-wrenching and powerful and unsettling in a inexplicably arousing way. All in all, the book is engaging, and I'm not sure if you really know yourself as well as you thought you did. Kind of like, looking into the mirror and seeing a stranger looking back. I gave it 3 dongs up. Or at least I would have if anything I just said was true. Other than it being one of my favorite books, being called Lightning, and being written by Dean Koontz, none of that nipple clamp nonsense is true. Though I could see Dean Koontz using a lot of that in a future novel, maybe even the tinfoil hat part. Though there are some sexy-ass moments in some of his books, a lot of weird-ass, sexy-ass moments, mind you. But some of that probably stemming from things we'll talk about in a bit, maybe. The real book is a lot like what I described during the opening of this episode, the crosswalk hit and run thing. Although, full disclosure, there is some weird pedo gross stuff in this book. Not graphic, but still. It's there. It's there to deepen the creepiness and illustrate how fucked up one of the antagonists is. But, it's there, so... If you perked up for a second at the thought of finally some pedo stuff in a novel to represent who I am, what my feelings are, acceptance at last, don't. It's not Penthouse Forum for kiddie fiddlers. Instead, skip this story and turn that disappointment into something productive, like killing yourself. No, this book is about something different altogether. It's a rare blending of suspense and sci-fi that does a fair job of balancing the logic with the frantic pace needed to keep up the page-turning tempo. And personally, it is really one of my favorite books, like top 10 list material. In fact, when I found it in the backpack, I felt like I was cheating in some way. I have it in my head that all the books that I talk about in this podcast should be completely unread and new to me, but that's just nonsense though, right? I'm sure that many of you have read the same book a few times over. So, why not? Why not touch on one that I've done the same with, that I've done and read? So why not touch on one that I've read a couple of times and done the same with, right? Okay, maybe you haven't. But I'm assuming. I'm sure that many of you have read the same book a few times over. So why not touch on one that I've read a couple of times and done the same with, right? Okay, maybe you haven't. But I'm assuming. Okay. But I've read this book at least 7 times. At least. All right, though, I promise, only 1 episode per book, unless requested to do otherwise. Because I'm easy like that. With requests. Now, when I read the note telling me to do this specific episode, I wrestled, but reached the conclusion. Wait, let me explain the note. I've been hiding out in my attic for a few days. Not because I want to, mind you. It's just the safest place to hide so I don't run into myself. After I did that episode about successful living, I grabbed the books under the table and bang, I found myself in my bedroom on some other day. Thank God I didn't run into anyone. I'd hate to be responsible for ending the existence of the entire universe. I wouldn't be able to live with myself, even if I undid my existence negating, any feeling, negative or otherwise. Still, it wouldn't be a bright spot on a resume anyway, would it? Unless you're Hitler. Or Thanos, maybe, right? Thanos? Doing terrifying, horrific things are good for murderous people, right? I'd imagine were they to apply for other villainous shit, ending the universe would bump their prestige to the top of the prime candidate pile. We're looking for someone to take our child-stealing organ harvesting chop shop to the next level. What do you think you can offer? Well, I once ended the existence of an entire universe by accident. Wow! You murdered that many... not exactly murder. More so that I made them never exist at all. And not just people, of course. Everything. Just undoing everything ever contributed via interaction, manipulation, etc. All the love, hate, thoughts, ideas... gone in an instant, and they never had a chance to say goodbye to anything they ever loved or held dear. Just poof. Never, ever, ever here at all. That's a shame. Not murdered per se. And it wasn't even purposeful. We're looking for real intent and passion here. What would it be to snatch kids and harvest their organs if there were no passion behind it? It would just be the generic pedestrian harvesting of organs from unwilling children. No. This organization has higher standards than just the run-of-the-mill flipping the innards of youngsters for fun and profit. We're not animals here, sir. You know, jumping around in time, not as fun as advertised either. It severely sucks, actually. It's a lot of trying to avoid your past or future self while cowering in fear in dark places, stifling the urge to throw up. Don't like the constant fear of sending time into a death spiral? Maybe think about not traveling in time. I had this idea that it was going to be like Quantum Leap, that show from the 90s that starred Scott Bakula as a time-traveling amnesiac named Sam Beckett, a scientist that holds multiple doctorates but somehow still can't figure out how to fix his own fucking time machine. And he had one of the coolest sidekicks ever in the form of Al, a hologram that only Sam can see and hear. He was played by Dean Stockwell, who, as of my telling you of this, is 84 years young. That's stupid. He's 84 years old. That's old. And it's incredibly fucking old. But I hope he lives forever because he's awesome. It was a great show. Time travel is shit. The hopping through history, dicking around with time, having adventures, putting right what once went wrong, some shit like that. Fucking none of that happens. None of it. None of it happens. I thought I'd bounce from point to point, not giving a real damn about the consequences and getting hit on by folks who were long dead before I was born, which is kind of gross, yet kind of sexy. All lies. Just another lie pop culture saddled me with. God damn it. Oh, and spoiler. See, I said it before. I said, spoiler, all those women Dr. Beckett made out with, and let's face it, fucked. They were the age equivalent of his mother, or his grandmother, and maybe even his great-grandmother. Let that settle in your brain and die there. While that might be a turn-on for a portion of folks in the world, common consensus is it's fucking weird to slap nasties with someone your great-grandmother or great-grandfather might have been partying with. And by partying, I mean fucking. Ugh. God damn it. What did I just do? Before I get you totally stuck on the notion of people piping down your great-grandma or meemaw or nana, I'll press on. So anyway, I'm hiding in my attic, raring to go with another day of playing Anne Frank, though not with the constant fear of dying by Nazis. That's obviously far, far worse. That poor kid and her family. But I do have the constant fear that I might change the flow of time, maybe even destroying it altogether, and or undoing the nature of existence itself. It's still not Nazis. Poor kid and her family. Fuck Nazis. Anyway, I woke up, and I was in a groggy haze when my eyes latched onto an envelope tucked under my old Spuds MacKenzie trucker cap. Anyway, penned in neat lettering on its outside was the word titty. God damn it. I opened it as quietly as I could without my anger boiling over, and a small note inside instructed me to record an episode about the book Lightning by Dean Koontz, and that I could be expecting a guest. Well, what that meant, I didn't know. Eventually, I got around to setting up everything, working out some rudimentary soundproofing, setting up the recorder, all of that. Then, shortly after, everyone downstairs went to work and school, and anyway, I felt a slight thump in my chest, like a pressure wave or something, and my ears kind of popped, like a change in pressure or altitude, or like you're going over a hill. It was like air equalizing or whatever. And then there's a strange fucking man in front of me. I immediately yelped like a startled puppy and threw an old Rubik's Cube and a broken lightsaber in seasons 1, 2, and 12 of The Simpsons at him. Fucking just chucked it. Because if anything, I'm a figuratively shit my pants and throw stuff while running kind of warrior. A few minutes of the ducking, cursing, and epithets involving the eating of various kinds of ass later, from his defensive position behind a fake Christmas tree supporting totes filled with somebody's penthouse collection, He explained how he came to just appear in front of me, what he was here for, and most importantly, who he was. He's sitting across from me right now, looking a little arrogant and kind of irked that I'm describing him to his face. Don't smirk at me like that, friend. Just thumb through those penthouses you've been eyeing up. I know. Yeah. From what I've heard, the best issues are on the right near the bottom. Not that I would know personally, of course. I'll be talking to him shortly. During an off-mic discussion, though, he felt it was best to work my way through the book with you, and we'd all talk on the other side of it. He said it would work to help to explain my situation better, give it context, or something like that. Maybe I'll finally get some answers and go the fuck home, because this attic life is bullshit. Anyway, let's get into the book Lightning. Its author, the illustrious Dean Koontz, how I think it's good and broken at the same time, all while waiting to talk to a man who seems like pornography is foreign to him. Why are you taking notes, man? It's fucking weird. It's their magazine. They're... all right. Dean Koontz is a writer whose work regimen starts at 6 in the morning and doesn't stop until 6 at night. Jesus Christ. I write these episodes out and find myself wandering off into rabbit holes of insanity 5 minutes into typing. I'm terrible. I am my own worst distraction, always. Dean goes for 12 hours straight. That's multi-leveled insanity right there. Look, here's an example of why I feel that way. Why I feel that's crazy. When I found out about Dean Koontz's daily 12-hour writing regimen, I was tripping off into learning that a fellow Dean, Mr. Dean Stockwell of the aforementioned Quantum Leap, he played Al, like I said earlier. That was him in the show. Dean played him. Dean Stockwell creates collage art and crucifixes made out of dice in Taos, New Mexico. Why do I do this to myself? They share the same name. That's it. Well, and a loose affiliation with time travel narratives. See, this is why I think I have ADHD. Should I seek medical help? Should I look that up? No. Nope. Damn it. Oh, also, I'm not sure if he's still creating any art because he suffered a stroke or two since the video I watched of him talking about it. Why do I know that? I'll call my doctor tomorrow. Back to Dean Koontz. The world-famous, best-selling New York Times #1 14 times over. 16 of his books have risen to the #1 position in paperback, published in 38 languages, and has sold over 500 million copies to date. Book writing badass. With a very strange hair situation. Strange might be a little strong, but I'm sticking to it. It might be a little insensitive of me, but when you go from early photos on the back of many of his novels that show a balding Dean with a mustache, and a killer mustache, by the way, a Burt motherfucking Reynolds stash, a fast-driving, hard, living on the edge, hard partying, young Sally Field bent over your Trans Am's front seat mustache. The kind that commands respect when entering a country western bar, and may be entitled to a free beer or at least more respect upon purchasing a car. You! Hey there, you look like a man who knows about cars and cool shit, sir. So I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Here's the best damn price I have on that 8-year-old Honda Civic. I can't go any lower, and damn it, can I buy a beer for you before you do the test drive? That kind of respect. Damn it! After Dean Koontz underwent hair transplant surgery in the late 1990s, his subsequent books have featured a new, cleanly shaven appearance with a fuller head of hair. Koontz explained the change by claiming that he was tired of looking like G. Gordon Liddy. And truth be told, I do have a book by G. Gordon Liddy, and Koontz fucking nails the self-deprecation here. They're like fucking twins. Personally, with the new hair, I think he looks kind of like a cult leader. He's not, mind you. He just looks like one. But that's just me. The world took a big hit not having that stash around, though, in my humble opinion. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, Everett, Pennsylvania, on July 9th, 1945 to be exact, though Mr. Koontz says he was born in Bedford, which is the county that Everett is located in. Everett, as of 2018, is a town of 1,731 scrappy citizens clinging to civilization in what has to be a constant ambiance of palpable despair. I'm surprised the wind doesn't occasionally whisper, "Leave here. Go. What's wrong with you? There's nothing here. You're 2 hours away from Baltimore and Harrisburg. Those are real cities you should move to instead. Why am I still whispering? Oh, right. I'm the wind. It's windy. Move." I'm kidding. Partially. I'm sure it's a quaint, cozy little town whose claim to fame seems to be three things besides Dean being from there. Those three things are thus, or this, thus. Thus sounds fancier. Thus, 1. The town of Everett was originally named Bloody Run, named after a horrific event in the spring of 1763. I fucked that up. A company of Indian traders were encamped on the banks of the stream now known as Bloody Run. The traders were surprised at night by hostile Indians belonging to the Shawnees, Delaware, and Huron tribes. Apparently they teamed up and high-fived, and the Confederation of Six Nations of Indians attacked the traders. And a number of persons attached to it. They were massacred. And an immense amount of peltries, those are animal furs, and merchandise were destroyed, amounting to, I'm not sure if this was right, $85,906. That seems like a lot of fucking money, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Anyway, that's what it said on the official newspaper report thingy, so I'm sticking to that number. It seems like bullshit, but whatever. Some of the traders were thrown into jail for their debts where they died, so how about that? Number 2, it has a very nice 77-acre park where most of the town's events take place. So that's pretty cool for Everett, the 77-acre park. And number 3, the town came to national attention when a 14-year-old boy was arrested for simulating a sex act on a statue of Jesus. Yeah, that last one isn't a joke. That's real shit. One of their claims to fame is a boy dry humping a Jesus statue in 2014. The district attorney wanted to have the kid tossed in jail for 2 years for doing what I believe every person in history has done to a statue of one form or another when they were coming of age. I mean, anyone who hasn't tried to get a simulated blowjob from Ronald McDonald in the Playland when they were a kid meaning teenager-ish, tween, that's a fucking thing now, to tween to teen, they're just not living as far as I'm concerned. 2 years for fake fucking plaster is a little much. Okay, so, yep, that's Everett. Plan your vacations now. Though, if you're some kind of statuary fornicator tourist, you might want to skip Everett. Though, if I were a concrete facsimile humper, from a purely logical standpoint, you would want to go to some other town like Everett to do that. You wouldn't want to get down on your own statues in your own town because that's a weird label to be saddled with, living there, especially with your neighbors. Hey, there's the statue fucker. You remember how they're always humping statues downtown? That's them. Fucking statue fucker. Shit, you think they fuck garden gnomes? Get the garden gnomes out of the lawn. Get them. No, get them. Yeah, no, pull little David in too, just to be safe. That was little David the gnome from the Nickelodeon show. There's a business called Koontz Coal there, too, in Everett. However, from what I could tell, the owner died in 2007. So I couldn't find out if he was directly related to Dean Koontz. I'm just assuming, maybe. Or I don't even know how he passed on either. But I can only assume that it was a desperate last-ditch bid to finally get the fuck out of old Bloody Run Everett. Dean grew up in a sadder version of Everett, in a 2-story tar paper shack he described as being about 400 square feet. He actually keeps a picture of the shithole to remind himself of where he came from and to never, ever, ever return to Everett. Ever. Ever. His dad was an alcoholic who had a temper and was always getting into fights. This often led to his dad frequently losing jobs, which Dean and his wife would later figure out to be about 44 jobs in 34 years. Yeah, sweet fucking Jesus, that's a lot of jobs. According to Koontz, the reason for all these jobs was because his dad had a tendency to knock his bosses the fuck out. A lot. How the fuck does that work? You'd think after the first couple of times, word would have gotten around about the guy. Hey, it says here on your application, you have experience as a forklift operator. Yes, sir. Yes, ran one at one of the last 4 jobs I had in the past year. I operated it, accident-free, and won 2 safety awards. Wow, that's great. We're really strapped for an operator around here, especially one with the experience, you know. See, we load a lot of palletized cargo. Sorry. 4 jobs in the past year? Yes, sir. At my last job, at my last 4 places of employment, over the last 12-month period. Jesus, wait. Well, why did you leave those? Because I beat my supervisors mercilessly. Right. Don't call us. We'll call you. And please, don't hit anyone on your way out. Books were not really welcome in the Koontz household, and they were actively discouraged as being a waste of time. He said he'd often have to hide them from his parents. Dean says that his childhood wasn't an unhappy one, though, and that happiness is a choice, whatever that means. I imagine that might be true to an extent, but sometimes misery is just misery. I mean, when you're not allowed to read books because they're a waste of time, convincing yourself that it's your choice to make lemonade out of lemons isn't really addressing the reason your father, hates you and beats your mother with lemons. Though, hey, if you can fool yourself into a healthy outlook, who am I to say you're wrong? Other than using logic, reason, and reality, I guess. But who needs that shit, really? He turned his life into a 12-hour day write-a-thon that netted him a 5-book deal with Amazon worth millions. And for what I'm sure is worth more than a bag of mom beating lemons. I mean, for real. So what do I know? Mr. Koontz says that his dad wasn't completely horrible, though. In fact, he had a funny side to him and would invent things that no one needed. And he had a real knack for selling these products into money-losing ventures. Often, he would convince people to invest in an invention of his that would be poorly thought out and would never sell. Then, after constructing a few hundred of those shitty inventions, he'd gamble or drink the money away and leave very little for the household to, do things like pay bills and buy food, etc. So, great fucking guy, right? If you don't include the shitty parent that played fast and loose with his family's well-being and happiness, I guess. Right? Books helped little Dean escape into worlds that were, to him, a fuckload better than the real shit show that he was currently occupying. His mother thought that they were a waste of time, as I mentioned before, and told him as much. She said, "You should learn to fix cars because one day you'll have a car of your own and you won't be able to afford a mechanic to fix it." Dean recalled he later thought it was kind of ironic, as books not only afforded him a car, but a mechanic to fix it too. Ha! How you like them bombs, Mom? Being dropped on your book shaming, bitch. Maybe you can sell some of that humble pie you're choking down and get yourself another tar paper shack, but no garage, because you can't fix the car you don't have anyway. Boom again. Another bomb. Okay, that's me. He probably loved his mom. Anyway, despite all of this madness, Dean wrote his first story at the tender age of 8 years old. It was titled The Magic Puppy. It immediately got him committed to an asylum for disturbed children. This was due to a phone call placed by an upset teacher who had to grade it. As would happen, she threw up all over herself while doing that, upon reading the tale of a puppy that dies from having too much sex with a deranged 8-year-old named Dean Koontz from Pennsylvania. She was so deeply shaken by what she read, she resigned that day, moving away and changing her name. But not before giving her phone number to the young Dean with a wink, saying, "Hey, you get older, you call me here." Let that sink in. And then forget it because it was bullshit. Imagine if it was real, though, huh? Good God, what level of hell would we be living in? No, his story named The Magic Puppy, it filled 11 pages of tablet paper, which he thought made it an immense tale. The puppy was from another planet, and he drew the cover illustration, and he stapled the pages along the left margin and covered the staples with electrician's tape, and he sold the only copy to his Uncle Ray for 2 nickels. Man, imagine how much that thing is worth now. His maiden genre, therefore, was science fiction. Later, during his senior year of college, he won an Atlantic monthly fiction contest and then proceeded to not win anything ever again. This is a quote from his bio on his website. He graduated from Shippensburg State College, now Shippensburg University, and his first job after graduation was with the Appalachian. I'm going with Appalachian because it sounds more hillbilly. Because that's I feel like I'm offending someone, but that's what I associate with Appalachian. You know, like comical hillbillies, not real people. Anyway, Appalachian Poverty Program. That was his first job, was with the Appalachian Poverty Program, where he was expected to counsel and tutor underprivileged children on a one-to-one basis. His first day on the job, he discovered that the previous occupier of his position had been beaten up by the very kids he had been trying to help and had landed in the hospital for several weeks. Shit. I added the shit at the end, but shit. To clarify, Koontz was hired a month after the school year started. That's what got him wondering what happened to the previous guy. I mean, you can't start a school year without a teacher in this class, right? And then to be told, "Oh, that guy, right. Yeah, he got his ass beat so bad he ended up in the fucking hospital." Like, whoa, wait, who beat him up? Was he in a bar fight? Was he boning down on a married woman and caught the wrong end of her husband? Is that what? No, man. No, the kids cleaned his clock so bad he may need to learn to walk again. Like, wait, what? Whoa, kids? The kids in this class, the kids that are now in my class? Like, oh, right, that's right. Yeah, I meant your class now. Oh, fucking good luck. Remember, no eye contact. Jesus fucking Christ. So how did Koontz not end up in traction, learning how to wiggle his toes again? He used the cunning art of tiring those kids the fuck out through the use of games. And the game involved a semi-hardish ball. This is according to him, a semi-hardish ball. And the game was, if you're not paying attention, I'll throw this semi-hardish ball at you. And if I miss, you can throw it at me at the time of your choosing. And this apparently kept him occupied enough to not plan his death by 1,000 fists. Regardless, Dean grew tired of the live every moment like it's your last style of teaching and wanted to do something else, like, maybe, write fucking novels, because that didn't involve getting beaten to death. Though he did get published during his teaching stint, it just wasn't great. Star Quest, published in 1968, was a novel he wrote around that time. It was part of a double book printed by Ace. Double meaning one half was written by Dean Koontz and the other half was written by some other fucking guy. Think 2 books for the price of one, all in one cover. The publisher told him that since his novel was shorter than the other guy's, he'd have to take a smaller half of the advance, and he'd have to pay the other guy more. So instead of getting $1,250, he'd have to take $1,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $7,300. A few years later, Dean Koontz ran into the A few years later, Dean Koontz ran into the other author at a convention and found out that he'd been told the same thing. That Koontz's book was longer and that he'd have to take less. Unfucking believable. So Dean did what any rational man worth his salt would do. He threatened to firebomb the publisher's office, demanding either the money he was owed or a blood sacrifice to the Norse god Odin, which Dean was a devout follower of at the time. After a long standoff, which led to a national news coverage thing, and Dean was arrested and dragged away while crying, he was sentenced to 36 years in prison. Koontz called the incident regrettable, yet inspiring. That's not true, of course, except for the publisher ripping off both authors. The rest is just my mental illness making its presence known yet again. Forgive me. The following year was filled with challenges, but also tension, and Koontz was more highly motivated than ever to build a career as a writer. He wrote nights and weekends, which he continued to do after leaving the poverty program and going to work as an English teacher in a suburban school district outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. After a year and a half in that position, his wife Gerda made him an offer he couldn't refuse. "I'll support you for 5 years," she said, "and if you can't make it as a writer in that time, you'll never make it." Kind of a vote of confidence wrapped around a brick. Like, I believe in you. I mean, let's be serious. It only goes so far. He took her offer, of course, and worked that over like an ugly rented mule. During those 5 years, Koontz churned out 26 books. 26! Which, if you didn't know, is a goddamn lot of writing. Of books. For context, there are 66 books in the Christian Bible, and that took 1,300 years to write. That was penned by multiple authors channeling the voice of God or something calling itself God or no God at all, just pure imagination. It depends on what your belief is, of course. Regardless, those writers were lazy. If God had farmed it out to Dean, he would have knocked that shit out in 12 and a half years. Some writers write, and some writers put in work. Just saying, God, next time you need a Bible, might want to shop around, all right? Though, to be fair to God, Koontz's books didn't exactly sell or earn out, which in the world of writing means to generate royalties that surpass his advance. So, something to keep in mind if you plan to criticize God on his writing, on his writer hiring practices, okay? Regardless, Dean cranked out so many books that he and his wife were able to live comfortably off the advances. By the end of those 5 years, Gerda had quit her job to run the business end of her husband's writing career. And they've been married for about 50 years now, maybe more, probably more now. He continued to kick out novel after novel at a truly insane pace and improving with each one. In 1980, his novel Whispers became a #1 bestseller. He had a string of these really great novels in the 80s, with Lightning being one of them, which was published in 1988. It was initially met with opposition from the publisher, who felt it didn't fit into what they felt was his wheelhouse, and it broke too many of their quote-unquote rules. I'll let Koontz tell you about that regarding the publishing of Lightning. He says, after Watchers, which is another one of his books, I delivered Lightning, and the proverbial dung hit the radiating fans of the air circulation device. Yeah. Lightning not only broke most of the publisher's rules, it pulverized them. I was told that the book was unpublishable because, 1, it was a suspense novel unfolding over more than 30 years of the lead character's life, though common publishing wisdom, henceforth referred to as CPW, insists that taut suspense cannot be sustained in a story with such a long time arc. 2, the first quarter to a third took place during the lead's childhood, though CPW insists that this makes it a young adult novel, of no interest to the adult reading audience. 3, the book contained more than a little humor, though CPW insists that readers will not abide the combination of suspense and horror. 4, the themes, according to my publisher, were too complex and profound for popular fiction, and most readers would be unable to understand them. I was told that Lightning could not be published after Watchers because it would chase away the steadily growing readership that I had developed with Whisperers, Phantoms, Strangers. Those were three other novels that he wrote. None of them my original and preferred titles, by the way, he says, but that's another story. Watchers and other books. Anyway, they said that Lightning couldn't be published after those. For my own good, I was told to put it on the shelf and write another novel. My publisher said, in 7 years after you've built a bigger and more loyal audience, we can risk publishing Lightning without doing too much damage. 7 years? I didn't understand why 7 instead of 6 or 8 or 400. All I knew was that I had worked hard on Lightning, not my original and preferred title, but that's another story. And that even though it was a very different book from those I'd done previously, I believed it would please readers who enjoyed Watchers. I insisted that it be published after Watchers, and this insistence led to an exhausting and depressing 4-month wrangle with the publisher before at last my point of view prevailed. They also gave him shit, by the way, for not having a dog in it. Apparently, if you have a dog in a few novels, it's expected that you should have a dog in every novel. Something fucking bizarre like that. So, what was the big deal? It was the time travel. It was too science fiction-y for the suspense crowd Koontz normally wrote for, or the crowd his publishers believed he wrote for. Here is where there are possible spoilers, okay? See, I mentioned it way ahead of time before. Somebody mentioned I didn't before, and I've apologized many times since then, so if you want to get off this train before Spoiler Town, this is the stop to get off on. Well, Koontz said the story spans 30-something years, following the main protagonist, Laura, from birth to adulthood. Now, I imagine that, like the publisher, you're thinking, how the fuck can a story span 30-plus years of someone's life and still be suspenseful? It's all about the who the fucks and the whys is why. Now you're thinking, Elton, that's gibberish. Take your meds. To which I would reply, I can explain the gibberish, and I took my meds, okay? How do you know about the meds, by the way? Are you following me? Who do you work for? Who do you work for? Conspiracy! What I mean by who the fucks is the plot device of a sinister character's identity being obscured from the protagonist throughout the story. I'm sure there's an actual name for that, but I'm a simple-minded stooge hopped up on meds. I wouldn't even know how to Google that. An example is the protagonist is sitting in a hotel lobby waiting for a friend. Boredom urges him to, watch other people. People watch a little bit. Suddenly, across the room, he locks eyes with a person that he's seen before. They've seen them a lot before. They've seen them lots and lots. Who the fuck is that? Why are they following me? How do they know about my meds? What the hell is happening? Conspiracy! You get the idea. The whys are, of course, the whys. Why is that guy following me? Why are they always doing that thing I see them doing? Why are they always the same age? So on and so on. So, as we follow the life of Laura, these two devices, or whatever smarter people would call them, are used to elicit the suspense Mr. Koontz is, according to the internet, apparently a master of. A very quick rundown that won't give too much away, because you really should read this novel. It's fucking great. It's pretty fucking great. We open with a rainstorm pelting a suburban house. It's the house of a doctor. He's old, he's grizzled, and drinks like a fish, despite being the on-call doctor at the hospital that night. What's wrong with that, you say? He's on call is what? Doctors who are on call aren't supposed to drink. Why? You seem to be asking? Well, if you're asking why, then you may be seeing a window somewhere where drunk doctors being on call to work on patients is all right. If this is the case, first, I think you need to raise your expectations for physicians. Now, the doctor is called because there's a difficult birth. And so he says, fuck it. I'm a little tipsy. Well, a lot tipsy, you find out. But he thinks, fuck it. I'm going to go and jump in the car. He gets all the way out to his car, and a guy knocks on his window, and he says, get the fuck out. He waves a gun in his face, and he's like, you're not going to the doctor. You're not going to the doctor. You're not going to the hospital, you drunk piece of shit. And that man, as it turns out, is a blonde guy that Laura will keep seeing throughout her life. Who the fuck is he? He seemingly keeps bailing Laura out of predicaments, potentially life-altering predicaments, like a drunk doctor delivering her at birth. Some changes Laura becomes aware of, and some are behind the scenes, like the birth thing, like the taking the doctor out of the mix thing. Such is life. Is this guy that Laura keeps seeing a blonde guy, by the way? Is he an angel, as Laura comes to think? She thinks he might be. He never seems to age, and like I said, he's blonde, and so does that mean hot? Is he hot? Because, blonde, I guess people associate. Anyway, doesn't fucking matter. It's just my head. It's a mind's eye kind of thing. I just assume it was hot because I'm fucking weird like that. Who would imagine an unfortunate looking hero is what I'm saying. Unless you're explicitly told to imagine that, which isn't the case here. So, hot. Go with it. Oh, and there's a lot of gunplay. There's an orphanage, a perverted rapey child molester named Willie Sheener. Which, let's face it, if your name is Willie Sheener in real life, probably a child molester. That's not right, but come on. Just listen to how it sounds. Willie Sheener. It can't just be me and Dean that think this. I mean, he made it up, but come on. Think of a fucking better name for a child molester. Ugh. Look, if you do have that name, maybe think about changing it as all, because people probably think you're a child molester or worse. I don't know. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Anyway, there's a fucking awful foster family in there too, which is a tired trope. But it serves its purpose. There's a set of twins that Laura befriends, named with really old lady sounding names. They are Thelma and Ruth. Sure, while it might turn out that Ruth has taken on a probable hipster coolness as of late, I'm assuming Thelma is still Thelma. Okay? Don't do that to your kid. If you're going to have a baby, don't. Unless you're a big fan of The Simpsons, Marge's sisters, and you hate your unborn child. You might as well name your daughter Granny Punchbag Friendless. By the way, Dr. Ruth, way too old to be talking about dick. She still does. And, it's sweet. You want to hug her, but then while you're hugging her, you kind of want to pat her on the back and ask her to stop talking about all the fucking and all the dicks. It's so much. It's so much. Fuck talk from an old lady. Look her up, Dr. Ruth. A weird combination of yuck and aw. Regardless, if you're a hipster parent and you don't mind talking to your daughters about why they're getting beat up for their goofy names, maybe Thelma and Ruth are for you. Okay. And if there are Thelma and Ruths out there, I apologize. I'm pretty sure you know the pain. Throughout all of this madness of the protagonist growing up in a really, really, really unfortunate situation of being an orphan, foster families, and weird pervy perverts, she keeps seeing this mystery man from time to time, often with years in between visits. Laura becomes a writer, gets married, and has a child. With her weird run-ins with Blondie McMystery Man, eventually those visits fade into like a personal legend of hers. And then all is well. Well, that is until a snowy night on a mountain road when the happy family, her husband, and her child, are stopped by the blonde guy Laura long ago relegated to a figment of her, imagination. He tells them to quickly move their Jeep off the road. While Laura's husband questions the situation because he's like, who the fuck is this guy? Laura recognizes the blonde guy and immediately tells her husband, do what he says. So off to the side of the road they go, just in time to see an out-of-control big rig sliding down the hill in front of them that would have swiped them the fuck off the road had they gone any further. Husband is astonished, and Laura tries to explain. Then, from off camera, gunfire from a strange yet unnamed man. Like I said, it's a great book. Someone dies. Many people die. Lots of crazy shit. Anyway, it's very suspenseful despite the story spanning decades. It's well done. Read it. Have you ever read a novel, of course, Of course, you probably have, but you can visualize it playing out in your head. You can really imagine it being made into a movie. The scenes basically are movie scenes. This is one of those books. If done right, it would be amazing. There are lots of twists and turns that I won't give away because they're amazing. So, you know what? I'll just leave it at that. I want you to read the book. Read it. Now, I did have an issue with the book. It's a minor one, but it got to me. Part of it is a spoiler. So, spoiler, the blonde guy is a time traveler. As it happens, the lightning that accompanies his jaunts throughout time is an atmospheric disturbance meant to equalize his presence in a time and place he naturally shouldn't be in. See, he's been jumping into pivotal moments in Laura's life, helping to make changes that would ultimately steer it, her life that is, in a better direction. Case in point, you find out that when the blonde guy, whose name is Stefan, by the way, when he talks to Laura about meeting Laura, it turns out he met her in an alternate timeline where she was in a wheelchair. Another spoiler there. Sorry. This was due to the doctor in the storm, that the physician on call that was drunk in an unaltered version before Stefan jumped in. He was tanked, went off to the fucking hospital to deliver baby, botched it, and ended up crippling Laura. So he fixed that. See? Stefan, who has taken a liking to Laura, shows up to change her life in the name of love. Let's face it, nothing gets you love and its sweet, sweet rewards, like explaining to a girl you saved her from a lifetime confined to a wheelchair. You can practically hear the panties dropping from the women thinking about it. You saved me from a lifetime of paraplegia? Well, let's get these functioning feet up in the air, sailor, and get into the hardcore gratitude sex. Fuck stallion. Should we get it done here, or is there a seedy, hourly rated motel nearby? He does this a few times with varying degrees of success, meaning some people die. It would have been preferable that they didn't, but it's what it is. You win some, you lose some, right? At least you're not confined to a wheelchair, honey. Quit being a Queen Debbie Downer there, Laura. The reasons for these near misses and him trying to hit the picture-perfect life goal are what gets me. Stefan explains that nature will not allow a paradox to happen, including meeting oneself, and that for some reason time will try to correct itself when changed from its original orientation. Like, for instance, it constantly trying to correct back to Laura being a paraplegic. I talked about this in the Time Traveler's Life episode. I will beat the fuck out of this dead horse again, because let's face it, it's not going to fight back now. And how often do you get to beat on a figurative horse and get away with it? First, a few quotes to give my nitpicking a little context and a more substantive feel, if you will, and to make me sound smarter than I actually am. Time and tide wait for no man. It's a proverb recorded as early as 1225 and is reputedly a quote from Saint Marar or Saint Marar. I don't know. I'm not Saint Marar. I'm terrible at names. In fact, it is believed that the expression time and tide wait for no man is actually much older. The next quote, the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. Leo Tolstoy said that. Here's a good quote about time that sounds like it's about time travel, but it's not. But it's still cool as fuck, though. Time is the longest distance between two places. Tennessee Williams said that. He wrote it in The Glass Menagerie. And of course, the tour de force. How did it get so late so soon? Dr. Seuss. Fucking great. The great Dr. Seuss. What do all of these quotes tell you about time? Well, they tell you that time doesn't give a fuck about you. It's time. Time doesn't think. It just moves along. Fucking time doesn't care. It keeps rolling forward, or for one thing to the next at least. Being that as it may, it doesn't have a plan. There's no right circumstances or wrong ones, only cause and effect. Koontz uses the time travel trope of time needing to correct itself, so the antagonists are fighting against it to keep things the way they want. Laura was originally supposed to be in a wheelchair. wheelchair bound. So time, for some reason, keeps trying to massage moments into putting her into a fucking wheelchair again? That's insane. Time is one thing happening that affects the thing after, and affects the thing after, so on and so on. It's not like time is some fucking jerk-off in a room saying, "Nuh-uh, you're supposed to be dead for the waist down. This isn't the fucking plan. Damn it, now I have to change all sorts of stuff to make this work out. Motherfucker, why don't you just like being in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, you stupid asshole?" No. A change occurring would only mean that the events after it would be altered. Dude, time doesn't care about the events being altered. It's just going to change and trickle on and trickle on and trickle on, trickle on. The universe and everything would indeed be altered, sure. But time itself isn't planned or counting on things to go one way or the other. It's like thinking water or the element argon has a plan. They don't. Time doesn't care about events, their effects, or anything. It's just going to plod along like any other time. That's not a pun, is it? No, I don't think so. If it is, I'm sorry. Regardless, overall, with the constant heart-racing fear of death and other outside forces at work, which I won't tell you about because they're good, and you should read this book, it's all still fantastic. It should have been made into a movie a long time ago, but, given the caliber of adaptations made of Koontz's books into movies, it would probably suck some severe motherfucking ass. Affleck in Phantoms, yo. Phantoms was a Dean Koontz movie. Yeah, it was not great. I don't know how good he was in it, but it wasn't all that great. Hey, so you made it to the end of this thing. Only it's not really the end. Nope, I fucked up and I made this way too long. So actually, this is the end of part 1. The part 2 I'm editing right now, and I tried to edit it down to make sense, and it just kept falling apart on me because I'm not really good at editing very well. So, thank you for getting to the end of this one, part 1. Part 2 should be coming out very shortly. So, thank you for listening. I appreciate you so much. And if you can, share the podcast with somebody. Give it a 5-star review too, or a 5-star rating review, both 5 stars and good review, or some constructive criticism. I'm all right with that too. Any of that. Hit me up on all the social media. Hit me up on all the social medias. Holy shit, I can't talk right now. So hit me up on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok even. I have a TikTok for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how to really do that. But I have one of those, so you can message me on there. You can message me on any one of them. And email, too, if you really feel like doing that. I don't think a lot of people do that nowadays. But anyway, any one of the social medias you can hit me up on, and I will answer back. And also, if you really want to contribute, if you really, really like this thing and want to help it grow and get better, you can help me produce the thing by contributing via patreon.com or anchor.fm too, the homepage for this podcast. I'll put the links down below. I'll put the links in the description because I said below, and that makes no sense. Contribute as much as you want, or, however you want. So, thank you very much for listening. And do me a favor. Would you read a book this week? Don't let them die out. Okay? Thank you so much. So much. Thank you. Bye. Bye.